Today on Locked Out A's, there's officially a lockout in baseball. What does that mean? How long could it last? And how does it impact the Oakland A's? Let's get into it, you guys.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How's it going, A's fans? And welcome to episode 396 of Locked Out A's. I'm your host, Nerd Baseball fan, Jason Burke. And on today's episode, we're talking about the lockout and everything that you need to know to be educated about what is actually going on with these labor negotiations. So that's what we're doing today. But before I get into anything, thank you so much for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. Locked Out A's, your first listen of the day. Make sure to follow us wherever you like to hear podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Follow our new YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. And follow us on social media at Locked On A's, Locked On still, on Twitter and Instagram. I am at ByJasonB on Twitter. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. So the first thing that I want to address is something that I saw floating around on Twitter after the lockout became official, and that is that the players are being greedy and that they just want more money, and that is why the lockout is happening. And while part of that may be conceivably true, that the players are being greedy, the lockout is not the players' fault. Matter of factly, it is not the players' fault by definition, because a lockout cannot be instituted by the players. So I want to make that clear right off the bat. Obviously, underneath my Mets sweatshirt, which is keeping me very warm, I am wearing a unionized Miners t-shirt. I don't know if you guys can see that. And so I'm obviously pro player. So it's going to be a little bit of a pro player slant, but by definition, the lockout is not the players' fault. So we can stop with they're the players of this. No, the owners did this, and I'll get into all of the explanation on all of that, but we're coming out the gate firing. Welcome to lockout season, everybody. A lockout can only be done by the owners. So while the players may be fighting for better contracts or less service time before they go into free agency, or things that would entail them getting paid more, among some other things that they want, the literal lockout is not their fault. That is point number one. We're coming out the gate absolutely on fire here for Locked Out A's. Welcome to episode 1 of Locked Out A's. Hopefully I don't have to do a whole bunch of these, and I'll get into the schedule for the podcast with the lockout and, with transactions frozen coming up here in the third segment. I'll do it before we sign off, but let's keep with the lockout theme here. And the things that the players want are very normal for a collective bargaining agreement, and that's why they have a union, is so that they can try and bargain for the things that they want to have a better workplace and have better, not amenities, but, just better, not perks. They want better things. And so this is just where we are. And in 2016, they did not negotiate well. Tony Clark did not negotiate well. And that is why we are where we are now. And it's not like we haven't known that a lockout was going to be happening since 2016. Because 5 years ago, after the last CBA negotiations, Jeff Passan, then of Yahoo Sports, now of ESPN, basically said that negotiations, this negotiation period in 2021 would get ugly. These are those negotiations. We've been expecting a lockout, at least for the people that I've been following for 5 years, have been expecting a lockout for 5 whole years. This is not a surprise. This is just what happens. So, if you're surprised by this, sorry. But this is kind of what we've been expecting for a while now. And before I jump ahead, though, you may be wondering what the difference between a lockout, which is the thing that I've been ranting about and what happened, and what a strike is. And so I'll tell you the difference so you can be like, hey, no, Bob, actually, this is what's going on. And you can, insult your friends and colleagues. So that's what we like to do here at Locked Out A's, is make you one-up people that you know in real life. But a lockout is where the owners essentially freeze all of the transactions, the contact with players, even the ones currently rostered on the 40-man roster. They close team facilities and essentially nix all communication with players. That is what is going on. That they want nothing to do with the players right now, and they are trying to do this as a leverage thing. I'll talk about that here in a second. And a strike is basically when the players don't want to come to work in order to get the things that they are fighting for. This is just the owners being jerks. Did they need to do this? Again, no. So what does the lockout mean? What does this lockout mean to baseball right now? Nothing yet. It literally means nothing. What was going to be happening now? If you've been watching the last few free agent periods, the only reason that this one seemed like it was a lot of fun is because there was a deadline, the lockout deadline, and teams knew there was going to be a lockout. That's why it seemed like there was a frenzy, because there was, in fact, a frenzy because there was a deadline. But we've seen nothing happen for weeks on end in the last 2, 3, 4 free agent periods. Nothing's been happening. Teams have not been spending a ton of money on free agents until they kind of had to. We've seen Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, a lot of great free agents sit out on the market until February. So does this mean anything? No, this changes literally nothing. Maybe some relievers aren't going to get signed, but nothing is happening yet. The owners are trying to play the PR game, and if you're falling for it, it happens to the best of us, and that's why I'm here. This is kind of the impetus of the podcast, is I want us to be educated baseball fans. Am I a little bit biased? Sure. But I want us to be educated about what's actually going on, and I try to my best to convey what I know and what, how I understand things, and so that's what I'm doing here. The owners are playing the PR game a lot like they did during the shortened, 2020 season negotiations, and they'll blame this on the players, saying that they're being greedy, even though they're specifically the ones that actually stopped everything from happening right now. It's also worth noting this did not need to happen. There did not need to be a lockout, even without a CBA in place, as far as I understand it. They could have just kept negotiating and kept, rosters moving. They could have had trades going. They could have had free agency open. They could have been doing this with, the CBA as an end goal. And how this is going to be a wrestling thing, but you get guys that sign like 2-day contracts where they're like, hey, my contract's about to expire, but this pay-per-view is going to come up, so I'm going to work in good faith. They could have done a good faith agreement, but they didn't. Instead, they're like, you know what? No. How about we put some pressure on the players and make them cater to our demands, the demands of 30 billionaires, because we hold the power. And so that's what's going on. Hopefully you're having fun, because we got 2 more segments of this coming up, so it'll be more A's related a little bit later. So I'm just trying to have fun because, just cry, smile through the pain, Jason. That's what we're doing. So this is where we are currently. Coming up, I'm going to discuss how this could impact the 2022 season. But first, BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues to march to the playoffs. Who's good this year? It's not the Niners. It's not the Raiders. It's definitely not my Jaguars. Who is going to win the Super Bowl? If you have an idea, BetOnline has you covered because they are the #1 spot for all sports action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. That is locked on. One word, all caps, locked on. From basketball, NHL, football, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to place a bet on all of your favorite sports, and that's because BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so with that out of the way, how's everybody doing today on the YouTubes? If you're brand new to the YouTube channel, hello, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. More and more people keep, tuning in, and I really appreciate that. And I love everybody that comments down below and says nice things about the show. And like, hey, I found your show. That was fun. Thanks for, entertaining me while I cry through the off season. I really appreciate those things. Keep them coming because they make me happy, and it makes it feel like I'm doing this for a purpose. So thank you guys so much for all of the kind words, and for everybody that shared their Spotify year in reviews with me and were like, hey, you're the most listened to podcast. And I was like, that's wild to me. I had somebody send me their thing, and they had listened for like 2,800 minutes, and that was like 47 hours of this. So I'm connecting with somebody. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody. So that's been a good time. Also, let me know down in the comments how you guys are feeling about the lockout. Did I come too hard in the first segment? Let me know, because that felt angry. But yeah, oh well, we're having fun. I'm gonna try and keep it light and jokey and whatnot for the duration of the lockout, because that's how I do things. I don't know. The A's might move. I'm still doing a podcast. Yay! So it's a good time. I was gonna say that's not why I'm wearing a Mets sweater. I'm wearing the Mets sweater because my the A's one that's nice got tree all over it because we got a Christmas tree, and then the other one I wore in the last episode, so I was trying to change it up. And it's also cold, so I need a sweater. Anyways, taking a sip of this. We'll get back. Just one sec. Jason, you're rambling. Might cut that out for the podcast people and leave that as an Easter egg at the end of the episode. Anyways, let's get back into it. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We got a bunch of subscribers. We're getting close to 400, and I want us to get to 1,000. It's just a nice number. Get me to 1,000. Bring in the views. Also, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Follow us wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @ByJasonB on Twitter. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. I also was just telling the YouTube audience, because for the podcast people, I cut out in between the ad breaks and when I take sips of drinks, where I just talk to the YouTube audience. And I was saying thank you to all the people who have been, tweeting at me or commenting on YouTube videos, or, sending me that I have been in their Spotify top 5 podcasts listened to. I really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. And thank you guys so much again for making the Locked On A's your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. And my good friend Jude from Australia, he listened to me for 47 hours last year or this year, and that is insane. Get help, Jude. But really, though, I appreciate Jude. He would also tune in to our Spotify green rooms, and really appreciate that. He's a great listener. So be more like Jude, everybody. But anyways, let's get back into the Locked Out A's episode that we had going, where I was coming very hard. So let's keep it going. So another worry that I saw on Twitter after the lockout became officially official is that the 2022 season was now going to be in jeopardy. And from what I've been reading, people aren't expecting this lockout to last until spring training. It could last until spring training, but in the quadcast, as I think is what we called it, the Thanksgiving special, we all made our predictions on when this would end, and I said January 7th, because I feel like this will be over in plenty of time for transactions to still be completed, for pitchers and catchers to be reporting on time. I don't feel like it's going to impact the season. I think that it's going to be a month, and then they're going to be like, we're doing a lot of damage to ourselves. So let's come to an agreement. And so that's how I feel this will go. But if it does last a little bit longer, there would be a mad scramble to sign the remaining free agents like Carlos Correa or Freddie Freeman or Clayton Kershaw, or in the A's case, trade everyone that we love away. But the season, at least right now, is not in jeopardy. Nothing is happening right now. It's just they can't make trades, they can't sign guys, and players can't work out at the facility. That is all that's going on. Nothing is really impacting our enjoyment of baseball currently, and I think that it would be a big detriment if they did make this impact the 2022 season, because one, it would hurt their own pocketbooks, the owners in particular, and two, remember what happened after 1994-95? Fans hated baseball, and it took the whole steroid thing to get everybody back into baseball. And yeah, let's not do steroids again. That'd be terrible. But moving on. Of course, all this could change as, time just slips by. But for right now, I am prepared for roughly 6 weeks of just contention between the two sides before we start seeing a deal come together. Folks that have been in the know have been tweeting out that the lockout doesn't really mean much until we start pushing up against February. So like late January is when you're going to start seeing probably some actual action happening, because spring training would be right around the corner, and they're like, oh crap, a deadline. That's how I'm a procrastinator. I get deadlines. That makes a lot of sense. But from a baseball fan perspective, holy crap, do it as quickly as possible. And this is when we could really see some headway being made. Is late January, mid to late January is when I'm expecting things to start actually moving. So we're gonna have a month and a half of, hey, that Rob Manfred said this, and he's going to definitely say something on Thursday that's going to be bonkers. So that'll be fun. He doesn't get life. Anyways, the winter meetings have been canceled. That is something that happened with the lockout, and that's been, bandied about. That was expected, but they have now officially been canceled. But the minor league portion of the winter meetings will continue, which is interesting because I don't know what that means. I'm unclear as to whether or not that includes the Rule 5 draft or not, because there is a big league portion where teams are drafting minor leaguers onto their 40-man roster. So it would be guys that aren't on the 40-man roster who they can talk to, but then they'd be on the 40-man roster. So how does that work? Is it a minor or major league portion of the winter meetings? And then there's also a minor league portion. So I don't know if the Rule 5 draft is going to be happening. I am fascinated to find out. If you guys know, let me know, because I would love to tell people and also know for myself. One other thing that I saw a lot of on Twitter was people tweeting pictures of their team's 40-man roster, from athletics.com or sfgiants.com or whatever team.com, with all of the pictures of the players being taken down. And they were like, oh, what a petty move by baseball. This is stupid. And as you can tell by the first segment, I do not like to stick up for the league very often, but I will say it's actually because of the CBA that they had to do that, because it's a legal thing. It's a legal grounds thing where they could. They're not being petty. Is all that is. The reason is because the league is not allowed to use the images or likenesses or even talk about anybody on their team's 40-man rosters since the CBA has expired. So that's what's going on. It's a legal thing. It's not that they're trying to be jerks, which they're doing. The whole lockout is them being jerks. But the pictures, it's not necessarily them being jerks. It's them covering their own butts. My main question is, with the whole lockout and the likenesses not being able to be used, will there be a new version of the show 2022, I guess what it would be, for next season if there is no deal in place? My assumption is that they would have the game ready to release whenever the CBA got agreed upon, but this is the first work stoppage that a lot of us have had. I mean, I was 9 when the last one happened, so I don't know. Everything's new. Do we still get video games? I just want my video games, please. Anyways, coming up on the show, I'm going to be talking about how the lockout impacts the A's. So stay locked in with Locked Out A's, and I'll be right back. And for the YouTube people, there are no ad reads, so I'm going to take a sip of this. Say hi again. That seemed more mellow. I wasn't as angry at baseball that time, so that was fun. What happened here? I don't know if you guys can tell this. I write notes and I read them as I'm doing this, so I don't actually look at myself as I'm recording, which is nice. The hat got messed up. Anyways, got one more quick segment for you guys, and then we can go about our days. Happy December, by the way. It's already December. Wow. So much time has passed. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow our new YouTube channel. Comment, like, subscribe over there. Also follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at ByJasonB on Twitter. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. So how will this impact the A's? I have it on very good authority from sources deep in the industry that the A's were about to swing a massive deal to land Shohei Ohtani in Oakland, but then the owners locked all the transactions, and so that's not happening right now. We'll see if Angels GM Perry Manassian sobers up in the next couple of months, or if it still goes through. I'm joking. That wasn't about to happen. But I saw people making these Mike Trout trade jokes, and I thought that they were funny, so I thought that I would join in because I'm a follower. But really, though, how could this impact the A's? Well, if it lasts long enough, maybe they won't trade everybody away. I'm only half joking with that one. But in all seriousness, though, I expect the A's front office to be busy working on trades that we're all expecting them to make. They're going to be calling up any and everyone, or, taking everybody's calls, because why not? Trying to find the best deals for Olsen, Chapman, Bassett, Manaea, Montas, and maybe even Murphy, Trevino, and Laureano. Those are their guys with the most value. Trevino less so, but those are their guys with the most trade value. Depends on how deep they want to make these cuts. Not financially, but how deep the cuts in our hearts. And the more guys they trade, the quicker they speed up the rebuild. And it would suck for a couple of years, but hey, maybe they get some really good players and they put together a really kick butt team. Trying to watch the language. But I'm expecting the A's to start trading those guys away pretty quickly once the CBA gets negotiated, partially because they'll have the deals in place because of all, the phone ringing that happened in between all the transaction freezes, because they can all talk to each other. All the GMs can talk to each other. So why not try to swing some friggin' deals? That sounds awesome. And partially because they'll be running out of time to get them done before spring training begins. And spring training doesn't mean that they can't make these trades, but I think that they try to generally be nice to their players and, not making them report to Arizona before sending them to Florida is just a nice thing to do. Will the A's do that? I don't know. They might move the team, so they're jerks anyway. But not the front office. It's ownership that's jerks. The front office is generally fairly okay with people, I think. One note that I will pass along, though, is that teams cannot make trades with anyone on their 40-man roster, but we could potentially see the A's perform a minor league swap of some sort if the right deal comes across their desk. So we could see somebody that's not on their 40-man roster, Buddy Reed. Maybe they trade Buddy Reed because they're worried that he's going to be taken in the Rule 5 draft. Maybe it gives them more time to trade somebody who they left off of their 40-man roster ahead of the Rule 5 draft. If the Rule 5 draft is part of the major league portion of the winter meetings. Again, don't know. Maybe it isn't. And it's going to happen anyway. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So those trades are allowed. Minor leaguers for minor leaguers are allowed. So maybe we see the A's try to, get a pitcher that way or do some weird shenanigans that way, but they can't do it with somebody that's on their 40-man roster. So pick somebody that doesn't have a picture on the A's website and don't go with those guys. Go with somebody who has a picture, I assume. But from a broader scope, I don't think that the lockout necessarily hurts the A's much at all in a transactional way. I mean, they need to make trades from, the Olsens, the Chapmans, the Bassetts, the Manaeas, and Montases. But other than that, they're not really being mentioned in a lot of free agent rumors right now. They weren't in the weeds of being a mystery team or anything. So, it's not like they were doing a whole lot anyway. Their game is usually to wait it out and see who's still left when the dust settles basically at the end of free agency. And the hurried nature of the time in between when rosters unfreeze and when spring training starts could potentially play in the A's favor. If I know that I'm saying that maybe there's guys that are, looking to sign where they can instead of playing the waiting game because they don't have time and they want to get a contract signed so that they're not being left out in the cold. And if the A's come in with a decent offer, and I know that sounds ridiculous that the A's would, spend decent money, but 1 year, $8 million. I'm not saying a bunch of money, but, get a solid major leaguer and pay him $8 million. Like Matt Boyd from before. Maybe they pay him 1 and 5. And they're like, hey, and Matt Boyd's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go play for the Oakland A's. They'll probably trade me, which is what the A's would be planning to do anyway. And maybe they can get some of these nice trade pieces for the trade deadline at a bit of a discount and, rebuild their roster a little bit that way and get slightly better pieces than they would have in a regular offseason. So that's one way that it could benefit the A's potentially. The extra downtime will also presumably help them make these impending trades right. And by that, I mean that they're going to nail the hell out of these trades because they had so much time to work on them. It's like getting a group project and then getting like an extension on deadline. I assume that's a good analogy, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So moving on. Or they're just going to like overthink everything and then everything's going to be terrible. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if it helps the trades or hurts the trades. I just know that there's going to be more time to just, talk to more players and maybe up the prices is kind of how I'm seeing it. So maybe they're talking to the Yankees about Matt Olson and they're like, we'll offer you not Volpe or Dominguez, but the other guy, Peraza. We'll offer you Peraza. And then they talk to the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are like, oh, we want to give you like all of our prospects. And then they go back to the Yankees and they're like, okay, fine, you can have Volpe. And maybe that's how that works. So maybe they get slightly better prospects in return because they were able to work off of other front offices. That could be a nice way that it benefits the A's. Or they could completely overthink things and blow everything up. And, we just have 5 Josh Donaldson deals on our hands. But the offseason is going to be a lot of fun. And this is like a real off season. Get ready for Lockout. Lockout pods, you guys. They're going to be wild because nothing is going to be happening. This is a real off season. And so that said, we are still going to be with you guys every day, our general 5-day-a-week schedule through December 20th. And then we're going to be shifting down to 3 episodes a week at the start until the start of spring training. So we're going to have about 8 weeks where it's 3 episodes a week. And then we ramp it back up, you guys, which is great because that is basically paternity leave time as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. But coming up on tomorrow's show, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the lockout and basically what the owners and the players are bargaining over and what changes we may be seeing in 2022 and beyond, like expanded playoffs and such. So I'll be giving you guys my takes and just, the inner workings of what is actually being bargained right now. But I also want to know what you guys want to hear about in the coming weeks. I'll probably be doing some crossovers, catching up with some teams that I don't generally talk to. Maybe the Tigers, maybe the Blue Jays, some teams that I haven't talked to like at all. And so that would be fun. Like, hey, who are you? We're coworkers. What's going on? That could be a lot of fun. And let me know what else you guys want in this downtime, because since I've taken over, we've had a COVID-shortened season and now a lockout. So creativity is going to be my strong suit by the end of this. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let me know what you guys want to see either on Twitter at LockedOnA's or down in the comments below if you are on YouTube. And I will take any and all suggestions and try to work them in as best as I can. But before I get out of here, thank you guys so much for making Locked Out A's your first listen of the day. Again, we are free and available on all platforms, as well as the guy that you should be making your second listen of the day, and that is Sully over at Locked On MLB. He has a nice interview with our Locked On Phillies host, and they're talking about that. They're going to be talking about obviously the lockout and all of the implications of that. So that's all that I got for you guys today. So until next time, go out and celebrate good times, Oakland, and I will talk at you tomorrow.